All right, hello everyone, welcome. I'd like to call this meeting to order. Welcome to the Assembly Committee on Legislative Operations and Elections. Committee Secretary, please take the roll.
Assemblywoman Dickman.
Here.
Assemblyman Frierson.
Here.
Assemblywoman Gonzalez.
Here.
Assemblywoman Howdigi.
Here.
Assemblyman Levitt.
Here.
Assemblyman Matthews.
Here.
Assemblyman MacArthur. Assemblywoman Monroe Moreno.
Here.
Assemblywoman Thomas.
Here.
Assemblywoman Torres.
Here.
Chair Miller.
Here. And please mark Assemblyman MacArthur absent excused. I'd like to welcome everyone viewing online and those participating by phone and video. And as just a reminder, anyone wishing to testify may do so by registering on the agenda. There is a link that you can apply to. Once you register on that link, you will receive a meeting ID, a telephone number and meeting ID, and with instructions on how to join the meeting. And that's available when the agenda is posted for the committee hearings. When testifying, I'd like to remind everyone to unmute and please state your name before speaking for the record. Also, a friendly reminder that committee members will be using laptops and multiple means of technology in order to help facilitate through the hearing. So please don't take that as a form of inattention or anything else, but there's a lot that everyone is managing in our electronic world right now. We will have up to 30 minutes of public comment at the end of the hearing, at which point everyone will be allotted 2 minutes per speaker. Committee members, just a reminder, please leave your cameras on. And of course, everyone will mute their volume or anything else that could be a distraction in the middle of the hearing. Committee members also, if you have a question, please feel free to send me a Skype so that you can be recognized. With that, I'm going to go ahead and open the hearing on Assembly Bill 1. It revises provisions relating to the training of newly elected legislators, and it will be presented by Deputy Director Vincent Guthrie. With that, Deputy Director, when you are ready to begin.
Thank you, Chairwoman Miller, members of the Assembly Committee on Legislative Operations and Elections. For the record, my name is Vincent Guthrie. I serve as the Deputy Director of the Nevada Association of Counties. Thank you for the opportunity to present Assembly Bill 1 on behalf of NACO, whose members are all of Nevada's 17 counties. Currently, all new legislators are required to take new legislator training, which is administered by the Legislative Council Bureau. Assembly Bill 1 proposes an addition to that curriculum that's currently outlined in NRS 218A.285. Because Nevada is what is called the Dillon's Rule state, the legislature, through NRS, dictates much of what local governments are able to do, and many of the policy changes and budget decisions that each of you will work on throughout your time as legislators will impact local governments. This legislation would ensure that legislators are provided training on the structure, scope, and responsibilities of local government. I took the liberty of providing the committee through your committee manager a list of state and county service providers that's been color-coded to denote services that are provided by the state and which ones are provided by counties, and then services that we partner on. I just thought that would be helpful for committee members to understand the breadth of services that are provided by local government. And also, Madam Chair, if you and the committee will indulge me, I would like to just play a short video that further highlights the things that counties do, especially during this time of COVID. This video was also posted to Nellis. So if that's okay, I will attempt this will be my technological attempt, but I think I have it down. So.
Please proceed.
Thank you.
Hospital workers, EMS responders, contact tracers, and human services providers are some of the frontline heroes of the COVID-19 response. And in Nevada, many of them are county employees. Counties matter, and they serve every Nevadan every day. During COVID-19, Nevada's counties are a critical part of the public health response, supporting health districts, providing regional emergency services, and preparing quarantine and isolation beds. Counties are the provider of the local social safety net. Nevadans most in need rely on counties to provide child protective services, meals to those in need, and services to the homeless and seniors. Nevada's counties are responsible for providing over 20% of the state's Medicaid budget and support public hospitals throughout the state. Counties do all this in addition to providing the everyday municipal and regional services that Nevadans depend on, like roads, parks, water and sewer systems, community centers, libraries, and county airports. Counties also administer elections, helping to ensure one of our most sacred democratic rights. Nevada's counties matter, and in difficult economic times, county services are more important than ever and more in demand. We thank the nearly 23,000 Nevadans that are county employees. We are counties. We are Nevada.
Okay, thank you for indulging me on that. I think part of the reason why we produced that video and put that together is to also thank the county employees that you've all sort of come to know here, especially during COVID times. So just continuing on, Nevada has a diverse and unique citizen legislature, and most of the members of this body do not come up through local government as they do in other states. But given the critical nature of the partnership between county and state governments, the NACO board believes that additional information on local governments would be helpful for you all to have, including an overview of local government services, authority, and finances. So Madam Chair, this bill proposes to make, as I mentioned, a very simple change to NRS 218A.285, which requires training for new legislators. And Section 2 adds to that curriculum a discussion of local governments, including the structure and authority, financial and administration, and the services provided by our state's counties and cities. This legislation would become effective July 1, 2022, in advance of the 2023 session of the Nevada Legislature. It's a pretty simple update. So thank you, Madam Chair, for indulging me, but I'm available to take questions, but also if it's all right with you, we have Wesley Harper is also he's the executive director of the Nevada League of Cities and Municipalities. He joined the Zoom and is supporting this legislation, and it might be helpful for him to just share his perspective on the bill, if that's okay.
Sure, that's fine.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, members of the committee, for allowing our testimony. And thank you for NACO for the meeting.
Mr. Harper, is this part of the bill presentation, or is this a testimony on your position on the bill?
The testimony on my position on the bill.
Okay, so we're going to go to questions first, and then we'll move to testimony, okay?
Good enough, Madam Chair. Thank you so much.
Okay, thanks so much.
Thanks, Madam Chair. I wasn't sure how you wanted to handle that. I did want to sort of highlight our partnership on this, but I'm happy to take questions from you or the committee.
Okay, thank you. Let's begin with questions. I see we have a question from Assemblyman Lovett.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So as much as I love presentations from Mr. Guthrow, will this eliminate the need for the presentations that we endlessly receive on the first 2 weeks of session on this very subject? Or is this on top of that? So I guess basically what I'm asking is this going to cause, or is this going to have, we're going to receive dual presentations for the newly elected legislators and the rest of us? Because it seems like we receive presentations first 2 weeks regardless.
Through you, Madam Chair, to Assemblyman Levitt, this is Vincent Guthrow for the record.
You may go directly.
Okay, thank you. I cannot answer for what committees would like to do. I will say that those presentations tend to be sort of a 10,000 foot view, and I think this would be more sort of in-depth training on some pretty specific items, but I would leave that up to LCB, I think, to administer. The bill calls for that, for them to administer that through the new legislator training. As far as I can tell, it would be up to the committee to decide how they want to structure their presentations. I'm not trying to delve into that, but I understand what you're saying.
Thank you. Yeah, just a clarification. The only other question I have was, and it's maybe a LCB or staff question is this presentation structure going to add a substantial amount of time to the new member orientation? Like, is it going to add a whole day to this new member orientation, or is it just going to be worked into the existing timeline? How will that work? And that's maybe a question for staff. I'm not sure.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Marcia Lyons for the record.
Yes.
My understanding is that this will be added to what's already taking place and won't add to the total amount of time. That's my reading of the bill. Kathleen may have more information, but my reading of the bill is that this will just be incorporated into the current training.
This is Kathleen
Women.
for the record. So the only requirement in statute is that the training cannot exceed 10 days. So that's really the only time frame set out in statute. How staff would choose to get all of the requirements within that day, 10 days, is up to the staff to provide the answer to that.
Assemblyman Levitt, does that?
I guess the premise is orientation. I think mine was 2 days maybe, and I know that we allocate funds to the newly elected legislators for attending, and so if we added a day, that might add to that allocation. And that was my only thought, is that if we add another day, then we add another day where we're spending taxpayer money to train legislators. And
Okay, so but does this conclude your questions?
oh yes, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Now, Speaker Frierson?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just feel compelled to make sure the record was clear about this. This isn't, obviously this is an ACO bill, but the presentations that we get in the assembly are for the entire committee. This is dealing with newly elected legislators. And so if you've been in the assembly for 8 years, I doubt you're going to remember your freshman training. And so the committees have presentations to refresh, for legislators that, haven't in a long time, or to go deeper in depth. Whereas we're talking about just new legislators. And so the first part of it, I just wanted to make sure that we weren't kind of confusing the public about whether or not we all have to do this and then also have a presentation during session. That correct me if I'm wrong. I just want to make sure, because I don't want the public under the false impression that we're just kind of proposing to carelessly duplicate efforts. My experience has been that the presentations are much more in depth than what brand new legislators get one time when they first get elected.
Thank you for that. Mr. Guthrow, would you like to chime in? Because I know I interpret it the same way.
Yeah, I think that's accurate. It's just the bill addresses new legislator training, which of course you would receive one time as a new legislator. So that's correct, making that distinction. Vincent Guthrow for the record. Sorry about that. Thank you.
And Mr. Guthrow, is it true that the training that you desire is more so on the actual structure? According to the bill, it looks like the actual structure of county government. And so often those presentations that we do see in maybe the first week of, during our committees are more about our issue based. And this would be actually the actual structure and the way the counties are set up. It also, the bill discusses funding, how funding actually flows through, as well as the different services that the county governments actually provide. Is that more accurate?
Vincent Guthrow for the record. That's correct. And obviously we haven't developed any specific curriculum, but that's the structure of what the curriculum would look like. Sure. Yeah, you're accurate in that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We have another question from Assemblywoman Dickman.
Thank you, Madam Chair. My question is, as I understand it, LCB puts these trainings together, but I was wondering if there's been any discussions about who would be actually doing the training. Would LCB do the training, or would you have someone from outside, like maybe someone from NACO, do the training?
Assemblywoman Dickman, this is Vincent Guthrow for the record. So the way the bill is written is that, you know, this is LCB's training to new legislators. So we don't want to we specifically put it together this way so that we're not sort of stepping on toes. But yes, we would be willing to offer our services to do that if LCB asks. We want to make sure that it's sort of an appropriate chain there where LCB administers this, and if they would like our assistance or it makes sense for them, and we would certainly offer that. So you're on the right track there, what we were thinking as well. And so, but we will leave that up to LCB to make that ask of us.
So, and then if I could just ask, if you were to do the training, I assume you would just do it as a volunteer, right?
Yes, Assemblywoman Dickman, this is Vincent Guthrow for the record. Correct. We wouldn't charge LCB for that time or anything.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Assemblywoman. Any other questions from committee members? Okay, with that, we will move into hear testimony in support of Assembly Bill 1 as written. Again, please unmute your microphone and state your first and last name for the record. Everyone's testimony will be allowed up to 2 minutes. With that, I believe we do have our first person who would like to provide testimony before we move on to anyone that may be on the phone lines. And so with that, Mr. Harper, please.
Wesley Harper for the record, Executive Director of the Nevada League of Cities and Municipalities. Thank you, Madam Chair, Speaker Frierson, members of the committee. We appreciate that you allowed this bill to come forward and us to provide testimony. We thank NACO for bringing this bill. The League is in full support of NACO's bill submission. We think that the proposed legislation provides a thoughtful orientation for newly elected legislators that may not be fully familiar with the functions and responsibilities of local governments. So it is the League's position that this will encourage and enable more effective cooperation, mutual understanding, sound governing between state and local lawmakers. Thank you, Madam Chair.
You're welcome. Thank you so much. With that, do we have anyone else in the Zoom that would like to provide testimony? Broadcasting, do we have anyone on the phones that would like to provide testimony in support of AB 1 as written?
Chair, I have a few callers. I will see who is in the queue. To testify in support on bill number AB 1, please press *9 now to take your place in the queue. I have a couple of callers. I'm going to go ahead and go to the first one. Caller with the last 3 digits, 229. Please slowly state and spell your name for the record. You will have 2 minutes and may begin. Caller with the last 3 digits, 229. Please slowly state and spell your name for the record. You will have 2 minutes and may begin.
Good afternoon, Chair and Committee. I am Jamie Rodriguez. That's JamieRodriguez. I'm the Government Affairs Manager for Washoe County, and I'm here to express our support for AB 1. The relationship between the legislature and local governments cannot be understated. Much of the legislation passed by the legislature becomes enacted or enforced by local government. And while many local governments do present to Assembly Government Affairs Committee and sometimes the Senate, and while other committees may hear from some of our departments that they expect to see more frequently, we believe an understanding of all of our roles would be very valuable to all legislators who serve on the multitude of committees for which we all have to work together. It is for that reason we believe that the change of training to all legislators about what local governments do would be a great step in the right direction. And thank you very much for letting me speak in support of AB1.
Hello, Chair. I'm going to move on to the next caller. Caller with the last three digits, 642. Please slowly state and spell your name for the record. You will have 2 minutes and may begin.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair and members of the committee. My name is Randy Robison, R-A-N-D-Y-R-O-B-I-S-O-N, Deputy Director for the City of Las Vegas. Online is express our strong support for this bill. Thank NACO for bringing the bill. Thank the committee for hearing the bill. As stated previously, we think that this is an important topic for legislators to understand the workings of local governments and the different services provided by different types of local governments. So again, we're in support of this bill and thank you for the chance to testify.
Chair, I'm going to move on to the next caller.
Okay.
Caller with the last three digits, 728. Please slowly state and spell your name for the record. You have 2 minutes and may begin.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair and members of the committee. For the record, this is Marla McDade Williams, M-A-R-L-A-M-C capital D-A-D-E Williams, W-I-L-L-I-A-M-S, with Strategies 360 and speaking today on behalf of Churchill County. We just want to go on record in support of AB1 for all of the reasons articulated by Mr. Guthrow with the Nevada Association of Counties and the previous speakers. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Call in user 1. Please slowly state and spell your name for the record. You will have 2 minutes and may begin. Call in user 1. Please slowly state and spell your name for the record. You will have 2 minutes and may begin.
Good afternoon, Chair Miller, members of the Assembly Legislative Operations and the Elections Committee. My name is Alex Ortiz, A-L-E-X-O-R-T-I-Z, representing Clark County. I am here in support of Assembly Bill 1 that NACO has put forward. Training of new legislators, just like training for new employees in any organization, is an important essential step to ensure a beneficial and robust understanding of the new venture they are undertaking. At Clark County, we provide training not only to our new employees, but for our newly elected county commissioners, other elected officials such as the assessor, the recorder, the treasurer, and newly elected department heads at the start of their tenure. We do an overview of the Clark County organization, talk about our core values, the municipal and regional services we provide to our constituents, role of the county manager's office, governance structure, fiscal framework, which includes our contribution to the non-federal share of long-term care and financial support of University Medical Center, UMC, how we interact and work with other public organizations, and prior to the legislative session, an update about the upcoming session and government affairs issues that may be of interest. We see the benefits our training has on these new employees and county elected officials and urge your support of this bill and the education opportunity for newly elected legislators. Thank you for your time.
Chair, this is Michael from Broadcast. That was the last of the callers in support of AB1.
Do we have anyone in opposition?
Let me find out. To testify in opposition for Bill AB1, Please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. To testify in opposition on Bill AB1, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, the comment line is open and working. However, there is no one in the queue for opposition to AB1.
Thank you. Do we have anyone in the queue for neutral?
Let's find out. To testify neutrally on Bill AB1, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. I do have one caller. Let me see if that will work. Caller with the last 3 digits, 048. Please slowly state and spell your name for the record. You will have 2 minutes and may begin.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the committee. Stephen Cohen for the record. Stephen with a V. Cohen as in the Assemblywoman, but no known relation that we're familiar with. I just wanted to address one issue briefly, which may already be addressed, but with Developmental Disabilities Awareness Month about 2 weeks away or less, just would like to see potentially incorporated into the existing training curriculum cultural competency training. And with that, Madam Chair, thank you, and I yield.
Chair, the line is open and working. However, we don't have any more callers in neutral at this time.
Okay, thank you. With that, I will go ahead and close the item for Assembly Bill 1. Our next item on the agenda is we had originally planned on having a work session for AB 110, excuse me. However, the bill sponsor has informed me that an amendment is pending and therefore the work session will be moved until next week. We can proceed to our next agenda item, which is public comment. I'd like to remind those that present for public comment that this is an opportunity to discuss general items that fall within the purview of this committee. Those making public comment will have up to 2 minutes for their public comment. And also you can always submit written remarks for inclusion in the meeting record. With that, again, broadcasting, I'd like to know if there's anyone in the queue for public comment.
Hello, Chair. I will check. To make public comment, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, the comment line is open and working. However, there is no one in line at this time.
Okay. Well, I believe that we can give a few more moments. Broadcasting, has anyone called in?
At this time, there is no callers for the public comment line.
Okay, thank you. Well, with that, I would like to adjourn the meeting. Our next meeting is scheduled for Tuesday, February 23rd, and this concludes our meeting for today. The meeting is adjourned.